Does BC's softwood lumber industry get the same amount of attention from Ottawa as, say, Quebec's steel industry or Ontario's auto industry? Now, of course, we would argue that no, it does not. It's probably why this week the Carney government sent cabinet ministers to Vancouver to meet for a forestry summit. Because after all, the Americans have imposed duties ranging up to 50% on our softwood lumber in just the last couple of months. So yes, it's great that the federal and provincial ministers met to take on the situation, but what came out of it? Well, Forest Minister Ravi Parmar is here to talk about that. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Simi.
Would you call those meetings yesterday productive?
They were definitely productive. I think the fact that we were able to get, high-level officials, people like Dominic LeBlanc out just a day before their budget. I certainly appreciated that. The Premier appreciated that. We have been expressing our frustration, as I've been doing so on your airwaves for a number of months, Simi. And so to be able to have them here, to hear directly from us, they got an opportunity to be able to meet with the three largest union leaders in forestry in our province. And we were given assurances that, look, softwood lumber is a priority. Dominic LeBlanc gave us assurances that he is raising it at the table with the Americans. And they gave us assurances that they are recognizing how important softwood is. For us, forestry is our auto sector. Forestry is our steel sector. And so we have a very disproportionate impact here. 50,000 workers out of 200,000 forestry workers in British Columbia. And I would just add, Simi, that I'm not one that pits workers against workers or industry against industry. But if we have to go down that road to be able to fight for this sector, there are more forestry jobs in Canada than auto sector jobs. There's more forestry jobs than steel sector jobs. There's a bigger GDP equivalent to it. And so I think there's hope that the Premier and I have that Ottawa has heard our message, and we're going to hold them accountable. We're going to fight like hell for jobs and hope that they come through with some dollars.
Well, that's the problem, right? Because they announced some things in August. But I mean, we're in November. And so where is that support and why is it taking so long?
You may remember that the Premier and myself, pretty unprecedented. We had industry, labor, First Nations all at an event together, which I don't think has ever happened in my lifetime, where this sector came together with government. And we stood together and said, I was very complimentary, as you'll remember, of the federal government, in particular.
Way back then,
Way back then, absolutely. And they announced the $1.2 billion aid package here in Kelowna, and I was very thankful. And then it's taken them forever to roll it out. After that announcement that the Premier made with industry, United Message, within a day I got a text message from Minister Hodson saying, we're getting that $700 million out. Fantastic. It would have helped a couple of weeks prior to that when we started hearing about curtailments and closures on the horizon. But the $500 million that they also announced back in August, we said very clearly as part of our policy proposals, we want 50% of that. We're the largest forestry producer in Canada, the second largest exporter of softwood lumber in the entire world. Write us a check. We'll work with you to ensure that money gets down on the ground. And I would say there's two areas that we're working on. One is how we can stabilize the sector, protect workers right now, try to keep operations going. And then the second one we've talked about a number of times is we have to transform this sector. We can never put workers in this position ever again. This is an ongoing battle for the last 40 years, and now's the time for both governments to work together.
Okay, a couple of points in there. So one, had the Americans have come out and said any programs you're talking about, this is more subsidies and we're just going to slap you with more tariffs and duties. So how do you feel about that?
Well, the U.S. Lumber Coalition put out a statement. I had a chance to read it this morning. It's absolutely absurd, the stuff that they put out, the misinformation. And I would say they need to go talk to their buddies, the Home Builders Association. And if you ask the Home Builders Association, these duties and tariffs are nothing but a tax on middle-class Americans. And the facts are fairly clear. The actions that the president has taken with the support of the U.S. Lumber Coalition has dropped demand significantly in the United States. To the tune of double-digit decreases in housing starts in places like Texas. And so the U.S. Lumber Coalition will continue to say what they say. I had the opportunity to hopefully meet with them back a few months ago when I was last here in studio.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And they decided to turn me down. I think they're a bunch of chickens. And so if they really want to debate and have a conversation about forestry and how we can work together, then they're more than welcome to come here, and I'll come visit them wherever they want as well.
Okay, so you talk about transforming the industry. we've heard that, okay, we need to increase the allowable cut. You've talked about that before. What is the holdup? Like, why does this take forever?
For sure. And I look at it comes up an awful lot, right? Like, what are you doing as a province to rectify the situation? I have been working my butt off over the course of the last number of months to ensure that we have predictable and economical access to fiber. The key piece right now for us is the economic access. I'll give you a couple of examples. In the Campbell River district that makes up the timber supply area there, we have 3 million cubic meters worth of fiber that is harvested, ready to go. That's a significant amount of fiber that my team has been working very hard with First Nations and the sector to do. Right now, no one can go and harvest that. It's not because they can't go and harvest that because of First Nations or permitting issues. It just doesn't make sense financially to do that. We have examples all across the province, 80% of the north, all of the permits in that area that have been approved for some time and some recently just aren't economic. And the reason is we are too reliant on the United States, and the price of lumber is very low. You'll remember 2008, Simi, this was the same issue we went through. I wasn't around then back in 2008, but everyone keeps telling me they're getting those same vibes, and some are saying that it might be even worse than 2008.
Okay, so then where do we find markets for that? What do we do?
Well, we have to open up offices. I'm opening office in the UK. I see the UK as a gateway for broader representation in Europe, in the Middle East, in North Africa. Those are markets that we once had. It's why I asked a guy like Rick Doman to come help me out to be able to open up those markets. And it's why Rick and I later this week on Friday are going to be heading to Japan and South Korea. Japan is an example. I'm really looking forward to this trip. It's the most important trading partner that we have in terms of relationships and also the value of the product that they get from us. They have announced that they want to build 50,000 hotel rooms every single year from now until 2030. I want as much of that hotel rooms to include BC Wood and furniture. And so those are the types of things that we have to do all across the world to ensure that we can continue to be a global player. When we are 70% reliant on the United States, 80% reliant, we've done this to ourselves in a way.
Okay, so budget today, federal budget today, hopeful at all for what might be for BC in there and for the industry?
Well, I hope there's a significant amount of dollars put aside for services and infrastructure. We still got that Massey Tunnel as an example, a whole host of things that I'm hopeful that across government that will be made in as investments to help support British Columbia. As it relates to forestry, I'm going to give the federal government a little bit of time. They've asked for a bit of time to hear our proposals. They certainly recognize the importance of getting dollars out in days and weeks, not months. And I'm hopeful, based off of the conversations with Minister LeBlanc, Minister Hodson, that they heard our message loud and clear. And we're going to work together in a communicated way. We've agreed to have a tariff response, or rather a transformation table set up, task force, to be able to ensure that our deputy ministers are meeting. Minister Hodson and I will certainly continue the conversation, but I'm going to be holding them accountable. They got to be back here in BC in weeks to announce some funding, because just after the meeting when I got out, I got notice of 2 more mills that were curtailing in BC.